أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصينا معه العادون ولا يودي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان عرضه ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل اللحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is, inshallah, I believe, our sixth lecture for the month of Ramadan. And yesterday we did a lecture on Lady Khadija salawatullah alayha because it was the night that we commemorated her wafat. It was the night that we talked about what she did for Islam. And tonight, inshallah, I want to get back to my topics for the month of Ramadan, which was how to make ourselves better. Yani tazkiyat nafs, to train yourself, because this month of Ramadan is the month where we should be training ourselves to make ourselves a better, not just a better Muslim, but a better human being at the end of the day. And when I started the series of lectures, I started with Suratul Hujurat, because Suratul Hujurat has so many points that you can bring out of it about how to make yourself better. It talks about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want from a Muslim, and following those points, we're going to continue that tonight. And tonight's lecture will be about backbiting and tale-telling. Because this verse that I started this lecture off with, وَلَا يَقْتُبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا, do not backbite one another. أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ اللَّحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا, do you like that one of you eat the flesh of his dead brother? Do you like that one of you eat the flesh of his dead brother? This is a verse that everyone should think about. فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ, no, you would hate it. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهُ, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ رَحِيمٌ, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the oft returning, He is the most merciful. Brothers and sisters, major sins are indeed the cause for all of the misery that comes in our lives. Evil and torment in this world and the hereafter. This is something that we forget, that we end up blaming all the misery that comes in our life to something else or someone else, when in reality, if you look, it is the decisions that we make, it is what we have done that brings us to a certain point, whatever point that might be. If it's a point of misery, it is actions that we have taken in our life that bring us to that point. But we do not want to blame ourselves. This is just what humans do. We don't want to blame ourselves for everything that's come our way. No, we want to blame others for all the evil things. One of the worst sins which one can commit between him and another human being are those that are greatest in harm and danger, not just to these two individuals, but to humanity itself. Among the destructive major sins are backbiting and tale-telling. These two sins are forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because they sow enmity between a group of people. They spread evil and discord among people and lead to destruction. Even though they have been condemned in the Quran, even though there are countless narrations stating the status of backbiters and tale-tellers in the afterlife, we see that these two sins are the most prevalent sins committed in any society. Any society. Don't think just because we're Muslims we're immune from these sins. No. These two sins, they cause hostilities between people of the same household and between neighbors and relatives. They decrease the good deeds and increase the evil deeds and lead to dishonor, lead to shame and disgrace. So tonight, let's look at what constitutes backbiting and what constitutes tale-telling and what their effects are. To begin with, like I do with a lot of the Quranic verses, I go into a little bit of history of what the reason for the revelation was, because when you look at the reason for the revelation, then you can put that verse into that context, meaning that, hey, wherever, if this verse was revealed for a certain individual, no, that does not mean that now that that individual has passed away 1400 years ago, this verse ceases to apply to anyone else. No, look at what the verse is talking about. This Quran applies to everyone until the end of time, even though some of these verses might have come down for someone 1400 years ago or against someone 1400 years ago. So when it comes to these verses, Abu Zar, he asked the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, what is ghibah? What is backbiting? And the Holy Prophet, he replies, it is to mention about your brother that which he hates, that which he despises. Abu Zar, he says, Ya Rasulullah, what if what we say about him is actually true? This is what a lot of people don't understand. Abu Zar says, Ya Rasulullah, what if we say about him what is actually true to other people? What does the Holy Prophet reply? The Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Abu Zar, know that when you mention that which is in him, you have committed ghibah. You have committed his ghibah. And when you mention that which is not in him, then you have slandered him. A lot of people, they don't understand what ghibah is. They think ghibah is just mentioning something that is not found in an individual. No. Ghibah is something that is found in an individual, but that individual does not want people to know that this sifa is found within me. If a certain characteristic is not found in an individual and you tell people, then you have slandered him. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about backbiters in the Quran? Suratul Hujurat, verse number 12, the verse that I started this lecture off with. Do not backbite one another. Do you like that one of you eat the flesh of his dead brother? And what was the reason for the revelation of these verses? It's narrated that once a few companions of the Holy Prophet, they sent Salman Farsi to bring food from the kitchen of the Holy Prophet. And after obtaining the Holy Prophet's permission, he went to Usama bin Zayd, who was in charge, and there was nothing in the kitchen. When there was nothing in the kitchen, he returned to the companions empty-handed. These companions, they laughed at Salman and Usama and they called them and they branded them close-fisted misers. Then these same companions, they come to the Holy Prophet. When they were coming to the Holy Prophet looks at them and he says that I see particles of flesh in your teeth. I see particles of flesh in your teeth. They all reply, Ya Rasulullah, how can that be? We haven't eaten any meat. That's when the Holy Prophet says that it's the flesh of Salman and Usama. This is the background to the revelation of these verses. Why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compared backbiting to cannibalism in the Quran? Why is that? If you go to any society and ask them their opinion about cannibalism, what will they all reply? You will see that they all think of it as a disgusting idea, let alone a disgusting deed, let alone a disgusting act. You will not find one sane person talk about cannibalism in a good way. If the person is insane, yes. But the majority of humanity thinks of cannibalism as what? A disgusting idea. The Holy Prophet, he states that on the night of Miraj, I saw some people in hell who were eating dead meat. So I asked Jibreel who those people were, and Jibreel, he replies, Ya Rasulullah, they used to eat human flesh in the worldly life. It was a reference to this verse, meaning that they used to backbite about other people. The one thing that is clear about this hadith is that backbiters will be in hell if they don't desist from the act and don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. The reason its punishment is so severe is because of the effects of backbiting. It's about this sin that the Holy Prophet says that backbiting is worse than fornication. Because if a fornicator repents, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives him. But he does not forgive the backbiter until the person whom he has backbitten forgives him. Meaning what? Fornication is a sin between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no third party. Or I should take that back. One person, two people. If those two people don't repent, it's between those two people and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it comes to backbiting, what is it? The backbiting is not a sin just between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now. Now you have brought in a third party. You have not sinned against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have not committed a sin against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now. Now you have committed a sin against another human being. And that is the reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive a backbiter until when will you and I realize that our good deeds have been consumed? When the final accounting of our deeds takes place on the Day of Judgment. That's when you and I will realize. It's reported from the Holy Prophet himself that a person will be brought forth for accounting on the Day of Judgment and they will be handed their scroll of deeds. When this person sees it, he'll notice that the good deeds he performed are missing. All the good deeds that he performed, they're missing, and he yells, Ya Allah, this is not my record because I don't see the good deeds I performed. When he yells this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, your Lord does not forget, your Lord does not make a mistake. Your good deeds have disappeared due to backbiting about the people, given their record of deeds. That person will see good deeds in it, that my scroll of deeds, because I find such good deeds that I had never performed. These are the good deeds of that certain individual who had backbitten you or who had backbitten about you, and a compensation has been given, or as compensation his good deeds have been given to you. Can you imagine the feeling when you realize that you're not carrying any good deeds with you on the Day of Judgment? This would be on the Day of Judgment when everyone will be worried about themselves, hoping and wishing that their good deeds outweigh their bad ones. But brothers and sisters, these punishments aren't just for the doer of ghiba, no. Punishment also for